Everyone wants a piece of your attention. Your phone buzzes with notifications, people's opinions echo louder than your own thoughts, and society constantly whispers that you're not doing enough, fast enough. But here's the truth. You will never unlock your full potential until you shut the world out and focus inward. Not on the noise, not on the distractions, not on what they think, on you. Your energy is currency. Spend it on your dreams, not their expectations. You don't need everyone's approval to build something extraordinary. You don't need to be liked to be successful. You don't need to fit in to rise up. Greatness has never been about popularity. It's always been about relentless focus. And the most dangerous thing you can do is allow your path to be shaped by people who are not walking in your shoes. They'll laugh when you start, they'll criticize when you fail, they'll doubt you when you grow, and then they'll envy you when you win. So why are you wasting energy worrying about people who wouldn't even show up if you lost everything? The moment you stop living for others is the moment you start truly living. That's when the shift happens. When your mind stops asking, what will they think, and starts asking, what do I want? You've got a dream, maybe one you've been carrying silently for years. It's something that ignites you, something that makes your heart beat faster when you imagine it fully realized. But somewhere along the line, it got buried. Not because you stopped believing in it, but because life got noisy. People got in your head, doubt crept in, fed by outside voices, and slowly distraction started to eat away at your focus. You began to look around more than you looked within. You started worrying about timelines that weren't yours, goals that didn't belong to you, and opinions that had no business shaping your future. Distraction became your reality. And here's the truth. Distraction is one of the biggest thieves of potential. We often think distractions are just social media, a few hours of TV, or random conversations throughout the day. But distraction runs deeper than that. Distraction is also comparison. It's also fear disguised as what if. It's also overthinking. It's also chasing validation. Every time you second guess yourself because of someone else's opinion, you're distracted. Every time you scroll for hours to escape your own calling, you're distracted. Every time you silence your instincts because the world feels too loud, you're distracted. And every time you allow that distraction to pull your attention away from what truly matters, your dream, you lose momentum. The most dangerous thing about distraction is that it doesn't scream. It whispers. It hides in comfort. It dresses itself as rest when it's actually resistance. It shows up in the form of just 5 more minutes. I'll start tomorrow, or let me see what everyone else is doing first. It wraps you up in a false sense of connection while quietly draining your focus. And while you're busy keeping up with everyone else's life, your own is passing you by. What many people fail to understand is that your dream requires obsession. It requires discipline. It requires laser sharp focus. Not a little bit, not when it's convenient, but every day. You can't be halfway in and expect full results. You can't scroll endlessly, watch everyone else's highlight reels, consume their opinions, and still expect to hear your own voice clearly. Your mind is a battlefield, and the enemy isn't just doubt or fear, it's distraction. You say you want to build something meaningful. You say you want to become someone better, but are you willing to pay the price of focus? Are you willing to cut off the noise? Because here's the deal. Every moment you give to distractions, you're stealing from your future self, the version of you that could have been more, could have done more, could have experienced more. That version gets further and further away each time you let the world dictate your attention. And distraction isn't just external, it's internal too. Sometimes it's not people or platforms. Sometimes it's the voices in your head. The ones that say they're doing better than you, or it's too late to start now. The thoughts that constantly pull you into everything but the present moment. You try to focus, but your mind replays past failures or worries about future outcomes. You want to commit to your dream, but you're mentally checked out, emotionally drained, spiritually disconnected. That's why protecting your focus is not optional. It's essential. You must become ruthless about your energy. If it doesn't feed your dream, if it doesn't grow your mindset, if it doesn't align with your mission, you've got to let it go. You've got to stop romanticizing distraction as if it's harmless. It's not. It's the slow death of your greatness. And nobody will pull you out of that spiral but you. This is where many people get stuck. They want success, but are still emotionally addicted to distraction. They want clarity, but live in confusion. They want results, but don't guard their time. You can't have both. You either live in alignment with your dream or you live according to everyone else's expectations. There's no in between. What you feed grows. If you feed distraction, it becomes your lifestyle. If you feed focus, it becomes your superpower. And in a world where everyone is distracted, the focused one becomes People will always have something to say, no matter what you do, whether you chase your dreams or choose to stay still, someone will have an opinion about it. And the crazy part is, most of the time, those opinions don't come from a place of deep understanding or genuine concern. They come from projection, insecurity, fear. People often criticize what they don't understand and attack what they can't control. And if you let their voices get louder than your own, you'll start living a life that doesn't even belong to you. The truth is, most of the people judging you aren't doing anything remarkable themselves. They aren't out there taking risks. They aren't pushing their limits. They aren't walking into the unknown with shaky hands and a determined heart. They're sitting on the sidelines, comfortable, watching the game unfold while you're out there getting bruised, growing, evolving, and yet their words sting. Their judgment shakes you. Their laughter, their doubt, it echoes in your mind longer than it should. That's where the danger lies. When you start caring too much about other people's opinions, you begin to shrink. You second guess your instincts. You water down your ideas. You avoid taking bold steps because you're afraid someone might not approve. You're not living, you're performing. You're acting out a version of yourself that keeps everyone else comfortable, even if it costs you your peace. That's not freedom. That's a cage. And the worst part, it's a cage you built with the bars of other people's opinions. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your dream. You don't need a crowd to cheer you on before you take the first step. If your vision makes sense to everyone right now, it's probably not big enough. Because dreams are personal, they're divine, they're planted inside you for a reason. And not everyone is meant to understand them. Some people will never see what you see. Some will never understand why you work the way you do, why you make the sacrifices you make, why you're willing to be misunderstood. That's not your problem. Your only job is to stay true to the vision you were given. There's something powerful that happens when you stop seeking validation. You stop needing permission. You start moving with purpose. You become dangerous not to others, but to every limitation you once believed. You no longer wait for someone to clap for you. You clap for yourself. You no longer ask, what will they think? You ask, what do I want? That shift is everything. That shift is where your power lives. People's opinions are not facts. They're reflections. When someone tells you that your dream is too big, what they're really saying is, I can't imagine doing that, so I don't think you can either. When someone tells you to be more realistic, what they mean is, I gave up on my dreams, so you probably should too. But you don't have to internalize those beliefs. You don't have to carry their limitations like they're your own. You get to choose which voices get access to your mind. You get to decide whose words shape your identity. Most people are playing small, not because they want to, but because they've been conditioned to. Conditioned to settle, conditioned to stay safe, conditioned to believe that greatness is for other people. And when you step outside that conditioning, when you start living fully, boldly, unapologetically, it makes others uncomfortable. Your growth becomes a mirror. It reflects everything they're not doing. And instead of being inspired, some will resent you. They'll criticize you. They'll try to pull you back down to the level they're stuck on. But that's when you have to be stronger. You have to rise anyway. You have to be okay with not being liked. You have to be okay with being doubted. You have to be okay with walking alone. Because the path to something meaningful is rarely crowded. Most people won't understand your drive. They won't get why you wake up early, why you work late, why you say no to distractions. And they don't have to. That's not their burden to carry. That's yours. And the moment you start chasing their approval is the moment you start stepping into your power. When you really think about it, the people whose opinions you worry about the most, do they live the kind of life you want to live? Are they building what you're building? Are they taking risks, challenging themselves, growing every day? If the answer is no, then why are you letting them steer your life? You don't take advice from people who haven't been where you're going, so why take their criticism? There's something freeing about realizing that not everyone needs to get it. You don't need to convince them. You don't need to prove anything. Your results will speak for themselves. Your consistency, your commitment, your evolution, that's the proof. Let your work do the talking. Let your life be the response. You don't have time to explain your vision to people committed to misunderstanding it. You don't have time to wait for the world to catch up to what you already know inside. You've got work to do, a life to build, a purpose to live out. And every second spent worrying about someone else's opinion is a second stolen from your future. Let them talk, let them doubt, let them watch, because while they stay busy judging, you stay busy building. When you truly decide to focus on your own path, everything changes. It's not just about blocking out distractions or ignoring the noise. It's about committing to something deeper. You begin to develop an internal strength, a fire that doesn't depend on motivation, but on clarity. When you know where you're going and why you're going there, your steps become more powerful, more intentional. You stop needing people to understand you. You stop needing the world to applaud every move you make, because something inside you wakes up and whispers, "This is what I was made for." And once that voice becomes louder than the doubt, louder than the fear, louder than the opinions around you, you become unstoppable. The problem most people face isn't that they don't have a dream. It's that they don't protect it. They let everything else take priority. Their fears, their comfort zone, their past, their environment. They don't guard their vision like it's sacred. But if you don't protect your dream, the world will distract you out of it. It'll offer you convenience in exchange for purpose. It'll give you temporary comfort in exchange for long-term growth. That's the trap. That's the reason so many people wake up years later and realize they've built a life that feels nothing like what they imagined. There's a kind of peace that comes when you finally decide to run your own race. You stop measuring your life by someone else's timeline. You stop feeling behind just because someone else is ahead, because you begin to understand that your journey isn't meant to look like anyone else's. You were never meant to fit into the world's mold. You were meant to break it, to carve out your own path. And that requires a different level of focus, a different level of commitment. You can't be half in and expect a life that's fully alive. It takes courage to turn your attention inward, to stop being obsessed with what everyone else is doing, to stop chasing trends and start chasing truth. But the moment you do, something inside you begins to strengthen. You stop feeling the need to compete. You stop feeling threatened by other people's success because you know that your lane is yours. No one can take what was meant for you And when you start honoring your own timing, your own vision, your own values, you step into a kind of power that comparison can never touch. Most people spend their lives trying to fit in, trying to belong, trying to meet the expectations of people who don't even understand them. And in doing so, they lose their spark. They forget who they are. They trade authenticity for acceptance. But you weren't born to blend in. You were born to stand out. And standing out requires you to stop focusing on others and start focusing on what makes you different. That difference, that's your gift. That's the very thing that will open doors, change lives, and leave a mark. But only if you nurture it, only if you prioritize it. Focusing on yourself doesn't mean being selfish. It means being self-aware. It means knowing your worth, your values, your goals, and living in alignment with them. It means saying no to what distracts you so you can say yes to what grows you. It means doing the inner work, healing, growing, building discipline, becoming who you were meant to be. Because the truth is, you can't pour into others from an empty cup. You can't make a difference in the world if you're constantly losing yourself in it. There will be days when it feels lonely, when you wonder if all the effort is even worth it, when the silence becomes heavy and the path feels long. That's when you have to remember why you started. That's when you dig deeper, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. You remind yourself that the vision was placed in you for a reason. And just because it's taking time doesn't mean it's not working. Growth is slow. Progress is invisible at first, but that doesn't mean you're stuck. It means you're building something real. When you truly lock in on your goals, your priorities shift. You don't waste time anymore. You don't chase people who don't see your value. You don't entertain distractions that don't align with your direction. Your life becomes more intentional, more focused, more free, because now you're not trying to keep up. You're trying to rise. And rising requires you to stay grounded in your values, your vision, your purpose. That grounding is what separates those who talk about change from those who create it. You'll notice a shift in your energy. The things that used to excite you no longer do. The people who once drained you no longer affect you. The environments that once distracted you no longer hold your attention, because now your mind is set, your heart is locked in, and you realize that peace, purpose, and progress were always within reach. You just had to stop looking everywhere else to find them. That's what focus does. It brings you home to yourself. It reminds you that the power was never out there. It was always within you. There's a shift that happens the moment you stop looking for outside approval and start choosing yourself daily without apology. The world will always have something to offer: opinions, distractions, trends, detours. But when you're focused on you, none of it sticks. You don't get caught up in the noise. You don't lose sleep over what they said or didn't say. You don't base your next move on what someone else is doing. You start living life on your own terms, driven by your own values, your own ambition, and your own calling. That's when your life begins to take shape in the way it was always meant to. Choosing yourself means showing up even when no one else is watching. It means staying committed even when you're not getting recognition. It means being loyal to your growth, your healing, your evolution, because you know that the world responds to who you become, not who you pretend to be. And who you become depends on how consistently you choose yourself. Not once, not occasionally, but every single day. In the decisions you make, in the thoughts you entertain, in the habits you form. Choosing yourself is not a one-time event. It's a lifestyle. Too many people spend their lives trying to be everything for everyone while being nothing for themselves. They give their time, energy, and heart away without boundaries. They bend until they break. They seek validation, love, and approval, hoping it will fill the void they refuse to confront. But no amount of external approval can replace the power of self-respect. You cannot build a life you love while constantly abandoning yourself to please others. That's not selflessness. That's self-neglect. And at some point, you have to realize that choosing you is not selfish, it's necessary. You can't expect others to value you if you don't value yourself. You can't expect the world to take you seriously if you treat your own dreams casually. You can't keep pushing your desires to the bottom of the list and expect to live a life that feels fulfilling. There's a difference between being humble and being invisible. There's a difference between being kind and being a doormat. There's a difference between compromise and self-abandonment. The moment you choose yourself, you stop waiting for others to give you permission to live fully. Choosing yourself also means protecting your energy. Not everyone deserves access to you. Not every conversation deserves your time. Not every opinion deserves your response. You start to realize that peace is not just a feeling, it's a filter. It's a boundary. You stop explaining yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You stop justifying your growth to people who are comfortable being stagnant. You stop chasing people who make you feel like you're too much or not enough. You begin to understand that being selective with your time and attention isn't arrogance, it's alignment. And in this alignment, you discover something powerful: clarity. When you focus on yourself, when you quiet the noise, when you tune out the expectations, you start hearing your own voice again. You start reconnecting with what truly matters. You remember who you are, what you want, what you're capable of. That clarity changes the way you walk through the world. You stop settling. You stop accepting crumbs. You stop compromising on the standards you once buried to fit in. Because now you know what it feels like to be rooted in your truth. There's a weight that lifts when you no longer need to be chosen by others to feel worthy. You don't need a relationship to validate your worth. You don't need applause to feel successful. You don't need constant attention to feel seen, because you see yourself. You validate yourself. You choose yourself. And from that place of wholeness, everything begins to change. The way you speak, the way you move, the way you allow or deny access. Your standards rise not out of pride, but out of self-awareness. You've done the work. You've felt the pain. You've had the breakdowns. And now you're choosing yourself because you know what it cost you to forget who you were. This kind of focus, this kind of commitment requires resilience. It requires patience. It requires you to show up on the days you don't feel like it. To do the hard thing when the easy route is calling. To stay loyal to your goals even when the results are delayed. It's not about hype or motivation. It's about consistency. It's about being willing to walk through the valley to get to the mountain, to trust the process even when it's slow, even when it's silent, even when it feels like nothing is changing. Because deep down, you know that choosing yourself is the most radical act of faith. This journey isn't always glamorous. It's not always pretty. There will be days when it's lonely, days when you doubt everything, days when you want to go back to the comfort of your old habits. But the more you choose yourself, the stronger you become. The more you choose your dream, the more it begins to take shape. The more you prioritize your peace, your purpose, your truth, the less interested you become in people-pleasing and performance. You start showing up, not as who the world wants you to be, but as who you were born to be. And that authenticity, that alignment, that clarity, it's magnetic. It draws the right people, the right opportunities, the right moments into your life, all because you finally made the most important decision of all, to focus on you. When you begin to build something meaningful, the silence often becomes your greatest companion. This is the part no one really talks about. The moments where nothing seems to be happening, where progress feels invisible and the journey gets lonely. You look around and everyone seems busy with their lives, chasing comfort, indulging in distractions, while you're in the quiet, working on yourself, grinding toward a future only you can see. And in that quiet, doubt begins to whisper. You wonder if your efforts even matter, if all the sacrifice, discipline, and consistency are actually taking you anywhere. But this silence isn't empty. It's the birthplace of transformation. It's where real growth happens, where character is built, where clarity is forged. There's a reason most people don't make it to the next level. It's not the lack of talent or opportunity. It's the inability to stay committed when the excitement fades. Anyone can be motivated for a day. Anyone can start something new. But it's in the unseen, uncelebrated hours where champions are made. It's in the repetitions no one claps for. It's in the choices you make when no one's watching. Success doesn't happen in front of an audience. It happens in private. And if you can stay focused in those quiet seasons, if you can keep showing up with discipline and faith, even when the results aren't immediate, you will build something unshakable. You have to learn to trust the process even when it's slow, because progress is not always obvious. Sometimes it's buried in the daily grind, in the moments that feel like nothing more than routine. But every workout, every hour of deep work, every decision to rise instead of quit, it all stacks up. It all counts. Just because you can't see the results yet doesn't mean they're not happening. Growth doesn't show, it whispers. And those whispers become roars when consistency meets time. There's a difference between being busy and being focused. The world teaches us to stay busy, to constantly do something, to chase everything and end up with nothing. But focus is different. Focus is intentional. It means saying no to 100 things so you can say yes to the one thing that matters. It means cutting out the noise, ignoring distractions, and devoting yourself fully to the mission. Focus demands clarity. It demands that you know who you are and what you want so deeply that nothing outside of that vision can pull you off track. And the more focused you become, the more you realize how much energy you used to waste on things that never mattered. People may not understand your discipline. They may not understand why you turn down invites, why you choose solitude over social events, why you spend your evenings learning instead of scrolling. They don't have to. You're not building your life for their understanding. You're building it for your future. And sometimes that future requires you to be misunderstood in the present. You have to be okay with not being seen right now because the vision you're working toward is worth more than temporary attention. Real focus is about subtraction, not addition. It's about removing what doesn't serve you so what truly matters can rise. You start to detach from shallow conversations, from toxic relationships, from environments that drain you. You stop entertaining every urge, every emotion, every distraction. You train your mind to sit in discomfort without reacting. You train your heart to pursue purpose over pleasure. You learn that mastery comes from discipline, and discipline is born in the silence, not the spotlight. There's a certain power that comes when you no longer need outside stimulation to feel alive, when you can sit in a room by yourself with your goals, your thoughts, your plans, and feel fulfilled. That's when you know you're becoming someone unshakable. Because you've learned to generate your own fire. You don't need noise, applause, or validation to keep going. You move because you've committed. You move because your purpose demands it. You move because you've tasted alignment and nothing else compares. Every minute you spend building yourself in the dark will shine in the light. Every chapter of isolation, every season of focus, every hour spent developing your gift, none of it is wasted. You may not see the reward yet, but it's coming. Not just in results, but in who you become along the way. Because the journey of building something great isn't just about the destination. It's about the transformation. It's about who you become when you choose growth over comfort, vision over distraction, legacy over popularity. There's something sacred about those moments when it's just you, your vision, and your grind. No noise, no applause, no audience, just raw focus. That's where you sharpen your edge. That's where you separate yourself. And when the time comes, when the lights do turn on and the world finally notices, you'll be ready, not because you chased attention, but because you embraced the discipline that prepared you for it. The grind is never just about results. It's about creating a version of yourself that no circumstance, no opinion, no setback can break. There comes a point where you stop waiting for support, applause, or permission and start becoming everything you've been searching for. The motivation you used to look for in others, you now create within. The encouragement you craved from people who never really understood you, you now give to yourself. You become your own biggest fan, your own coach, your own rescue plan, because you realize that no one is coming to save you. No one is going to carry your dreams for you. This is your journey, and if it's going to happen, it has to start with you. That shift from depending on others to depending on your own commitment changes everything. Most people stay stuck because they keep waiting for the right moment, waiting for the right people, waiting for the world to align before they move. But life doesn't reward hesitation. It rewards action. It rewards resilience. The people you look up to didn't wait for approval. They created momentum. They didn't ask if they were ready. They decided they would become ready through action. And that's the difference between dreaming and doing. Dreamers wait, doers work. Dreamers fantasize, doers build. And if you're serious about changing your life, you have to be willing to move without applause, without confirmation, without comfort. When you focus on yourself, something shifts inside you. You begin to realize that no one else has your vision. No one else can see your dream the way you do. That vision was planted in your spirit, not theirs. So stop expecting them to water something they were never meant to grow. That's your job. That's your responsibility. And when you truly take ownership of that, when you wake up with a fire inside you that doesn't depend on anyone else, you become unstoppable. Because now your motivation isn't borrowed, it's built. It's internal. It doesn't rise and fall with people's opinions. It stays consistent because it's rooted in your own purpose. You have to get comfortable being your own support system. You have to be the one who claps when no one else is cheering, the one who shows up even when no one's watching, the one who keeps going even when no one believes. Because that's what separates the committed from the casual. That's what builds the kind of discipline and character that doesn't crumble under pressure. It's easy to move when everyone's watching, when people are validating your efforts. But real growth happens when it's just you, your goals, and your grind. You'll start to feel different when you stop relying on outside motivation. You'll wake up and realize that even on the days you don't feel like it, the mission still matters. You'll stop negotiating with your excuses. You'll stop waiting for a mood to decide your moves. That's the power of internal motivation. It doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't check the weather. It doesn't need applause. It just gets to work. And when you live like that, when you build your days around commitment instead of comfort, you stop needing the world to validate you because you're too busy validating yourself through action. When you become your own motivation, your confidence changes. It's no longer fragile. It's not dependent on likes, comments, or compliments. It comes from within, from the promises you keep to yourself, from the hard choices you make behind the scenes, from the integrity you develop when no one is looking. That kind of confidence can't be shaken because it's not earned it, it's earned. And the more you earn it, the more unshakable you become. People will notice the difference. They'll feel it in your energy, but you won't need their praise because you've already proven to yourself that you're capable. Choosing to motivate yourself means becoming brutally honest with where you are and where you want to go. It means calling yourself out when you're slipping. It means holding yourself to a higher standard, not out of pressure, but out of purpose. Because once you've tasted your potential, you can't go back to average. Once you've seen what you're capable of, mediocrity no longer satisfies. And that fight, that drive, it has to come from you. You can borrow someone's inspiration, but not their work ethic. You can learn from someone's story, but not their struggle. Your path is yours, and your push has to be yours too. The truth is, not everyone will believe in your dream. Not everyone will understand your passion. That's okay. It's not their job to. It's your job to believe in it so fiercely that their disbelief doesn't affect your discipline. You have to believe in it enough to keep showing up, keep fighting, keep building, even when the progress is slow, even when the support is low. That kind of belief only comes when you're fueled from within. When you know deep down that your dream isn't just something you want, it's something you're called to. Something you were born to bring into the world. And once you tap into that kind of purpose-driven motivation, your excuses start to lose their power. You no longer have time for distractions. You no longer need to be convinced to work on your goals. You just do it. Not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. Not because you always feel inspired, but because you're committed. That's the mindset that transforms a vision into a legacy. Not waiting, not wishing, but doing. Becoming your own motivation is the foundation for everything. It's the shift that turns your life from passive to powerful. It's how you stop watching others live their dreams and start living your own. When you begin to live for your purpose, everything starts to change. Your habits, your focus, your standards, your circle. You stop living for temporary highs and shallow distractions because your life now has direction. You're no longer waking up wondering what today might bring. You're waking up knowing what you must bring to today. Living for your purpose doesn't mean life gets easier. It means life gets clearer. It means you finally understand what you're willing to fight for, what you're willing to sacrifice, and what you're no longer willing to tolerate. And in that clarity, you begin to unlock a level of strength and peace that can't be shaken by external circumstances. Purpose gives pain a reason. It gives hardship a frame. When you're anchored in your purpose, you stop resenting the challenges and start respecting them because you know they're part of the process. You begin to see obstacles not as signs to stop, but as signals to grow. You realize that pressure is not your enemy, it's your teacher. It's the weight that builds your resilience, the friction that sharpens your character. And with each battle you endure, you become more aligned, more refined, more determined. Purpose takes what was once unbearable and makes it meaningful. This is why purpose-driven people are different. They don't need hype to keep going. They're not chasing likes or applause or attention. They're chasing impact. They're chasing alignment. They wake up with intention and they move with conviction. Their energy isn't wasted on drama or validation. It's poured into their mission, They don't get lost comparing themselves to others because they're too locked in on who they're becoming. They don't shrink themselves to fit into the world. They grow themselves to change it. That kind of focus comes from knowing why you're here, what you're called to do, and who you're becoming in the process. Purpose also helps you filter. You start to recognize what adds to your life and what subtracts from it. You begin to set boundaries, not out of bitterness, but out of alignment. You're no longer available for things that drain you. You're not interested in empty conversations or shallow relationships. You don't feel bad for saying no because every no to distraction is a yes to your destiny. You start protecting your time, your energy, and your peace like your future depends on it, because it does. The deeper you dive into your purpose, the more you realize how precious your life really is and how dangerous it is to waste it on things that don't matter. When you live for your purpose, you develop a different kind of patience. You stop rushing everything. You stop forcing results. You trust the timing because you trust the process. You know that the dream you are building won't grow overnight, and you're okay with that. You'd rather build something real in silence than fake something flashy for attention. You'd rather plant seeds now that bloom later than keep picking flowers that die tomorrow. Your long-term vision becomes more important than short-term gratification. You don't need everything now because you're building something that will last. That's the power of purpose. It keeps you grounded when life gets uncertain. People may question your decisions. They may not understand why you've changed. They may call you distant or intense or obsessed, but that's okay. Purpose will always confuse people who are still distracted. Your focus will always be foreign to those who haven't yet found their fire. Don't shrink to make them comfortable. Don't explain what they're not willing to understand. Just keep showing up, keep building, keep becoming. Let your life be the proof. Let your results speak the language they'll eventually respect. And in time, the same people who didn't understand your path will be inspired by your perseverance. You'll also begin to notice that purpose gives you peace, not because everything is perfect, but because everything has meaning. Even on the hard days, you'll feel anchored. Even in the uncertainty, you'll feel guided. Purpose doesn't eliminate storms. It helps you navigate through them. It gives your soul a compass. It helps you rise above circumstances and stay committed even when motivation fades. You stop quitting when it gets hard because you know what's on the other side is worth it. You stop breaking down at every inconvenience because your vision is bigger than the moment. That's the quiet confidence of someone who knows they're walking in alignment. And it's not just about success or achievement, it's about fulfillment. You realize that purpose isn't just what you do, it's who you become. It's how you show up, it's how you treat people, it's the way you carry yourself. You can be in any environment, face any obstacle, and still hold your power. Because your worth isn't based on outside circumstances, it's rooted in something deeper. Purpose makes you powerful, not in a loud or arrogant way, but in a quiet, unshakable way. You stop seeking the spotlight and start becoming the light. And as your purpose expands, so does your capacity. You start doing things you never thought you could. You take risks you used to avoid. You speak with boldness. You act with courage. You break generational cycles. You inspire others by simply being who you were meant to be. That's the ripple effect of purpose. It not only changes your life, it gives others permission to change theirs. You don't have to convince people to believe in you. You just have to become the proof that belief works. And that proof is built through alignment, discipline, and a relentless pursuit of your purpose. You will reach a point in your journey where being misunderstood becomes part of the path, where walking alone feels more natural than walking with those who can't see your vision. It's the season where isolation doesn't mean something's wrong. It means you're growing. It means you've elevated to a level where distractions no longer feel like comfort and shallow validation no longer satisfies your soul. You stop needing everyone to get it because you get it. You understand that most people weren't assigned to your dream. They don't carry the weight of your calling. They haven't felt the fire that keeps you up at night. And because of that, they can't possibly grasp the magnitude of what you're building. But that's not a reason to slow down. That's a reason to keep going harder. There's something powerful about embracing being misunderstood. It forces you to depend on your own clarity. It pushes you to trust your inner voice over outside opinions. You begin to rely more on purpose than popularity, more on conviction than consensus. And in that shift, you build a version of yourself that's no longer dependent on the crowd to feel complete. You stop editing your dreams to fit people's comfort zones. You stop downplaying your ideas to protect their insecurities. You let your vision speak louder than their doubts. You show up not for their approval, but for your assignment. And when you start living like that, you unlock a level of freedom that can't be taken away by confusion or criticism. You'll lose people on this journey. Some will walk away quietly. Some will question your intentions. Others will try to convince you that you've changed. And the truth is, you have. You're no longer available for surface level connections. You're not interested in staying the same just to make others comfortable. Growth requires separation. Elevation demands distance. And while it may hurt to lose the familiar, you will begin to see that letting go of who no longer fits is what makes room for what's meant to align. It's not rejection, it's redirection. It's life clearing the space for deeper purpose, stronger connections, and more authentic alignment. Walking alone will teach you things that company never could. It sharpens your mind. It strengthens your resolve. It deepens your relationship with yourself. You begin to discover who you are without noise, without influence, without distraction. You realize how powerful your thoughts are, how resilient your spirit is. You become your own sanctuary, your own validation, your own clarity. And while the silence may be uncomfortable at first, it eventually becomes sacred. It becomes the place where you hear your truth the loudest, where you reconnect with your deepest desires, where you prepare for everything that's coming because you now understand what it means to walk in purpose. In the season of walking alone, you also realize the strength in your solitude. You stop seeing being alone as being lonely. You start recognizing it as sacred preparation. The silence is where you strategize. The solitude is where you grow. The distance from distractions is where you fine-tune your vision. And when the world doesn't understand, you stop explaining. You let your consistency speak. You let your transformation speak. You let your results speak. Because eventually what they mocked in silence, they'll applaud in public. What they ignored in the beginning, they'll admire when it's undeniable. But by then, you won't be doing it for recognition. You'll be doing it because it's who you've become. Being misunderstood also teaches you how to handle judgment without shrinking. You start recognizing that their opinions are often projections of their own fears. You see that their limitations aren't your responsibility, that their disbelief doesn't define your capability. You stop internalizing their doubts. You stop making room in your heart for noise that doesn't serve your purpose. And instead of trying to explain your worth, you embody it. You live it. You walk in it fully and unapologetically. Because once you learn to validate yourself, no one can invalidate you. One of the most powerful shifts happens when you no longer seek to be understood, but to be aligned. When you prioritize growth over acceptance, purpose over popularity, clarity over comfort. That's when your energy changes. That's when your focus sharpens. That's when you begin to attract people, opportunities, and environments that match your frequency. You no longer chase belonging, you create it. You build it around your values, your vision, your voice. And the more aligned you become, the less you care about being liked, and the more you care about being true. Because truth will sustain you when applause disappears. Truth will anchor you when opinions change. Truth will carry you through the seasons of solitude and into the spaces designed for your destiny. Sometimes walking alone isn't a punishment, it's preparation. It's the quiet before the breakthrough. It's the space where you meet the next level of yourself, where you develop the discipline, clarity, and the vision that can't be shaken by popularity or applause. And though it may be a lonely road at first, it leads to a place where your life begins to reflect your purpose. Not everyone will make it there with you, and that's okay. You're not called to be understood by everyone. You're called to be aligned with your truth, committed to your purpose, and relentless in your pursuit of becoming who you were always meant to be. The moment you realize that everything you've been through, every setback, every failure, every heartbreak has been a part of preparing you for what's to come, everything shifts. You stop seeing life's challenges as obstacles and begin seeing them as the very things that are strengthening you for your future. Each struggle, each painful moment was not sent to break you, but to build you. This realization comes with a deep sense of peace because you know that nothing in your life has been wasted. The tough times were not random. They were the training ground for your transformation. They were necessary steps in the process of becoming the person you are destined to be. When you look at your past with this understanding, the narrative changes. You no longer focus on the mistakes, the regrets, or the pain. Instead, you focus on how each experience has contributed to your growth. You understand that every piece of your journey has value. Even the darkest times have a lesson, a blessing, or a skill to be gained. What once felt like defeat is now seen as part of the preparation for the success that's coming. And with this shift in perspective, your entire life begins to take on new meaning. You stop carrying the weight of past failures as burdens, and instead you wear them like armor. They are part of what makes you strong, resilient, and unstoppable. The key to moving forward lies in letting go of the past, not in forgetting what happened, but in releasing its hold on your future. You stop allowing your mistakes to define you, and you stop letting them keep you stuck in the past. You begin to understand that the past is a place of reference, not residence. It's where you came from, but it's not where you're going. You start living in the present moment, knowing that each decision you make today shapes the future you will live tomorrow. The power is in the now. The power is in your ability to choose, to rise, to learn, and to evolve. And that's what you do. You choose to grow. You choose to move forward. You choose to believe that what's ahead is bigger and better than anything behind. This transformation in perspective doesn't happen overnight. It's a process, a journey in itself. It takes time, patience, and a willingness to confront your fears and insecurities. But as you keep moving, as you keep pushing forward, you'll notice that you begin to shed the old versions of yourself. The person you were is not the person you are becoming. Every step you take in faith, in courage, and in perseverance brings you closer to the version of you that was always inside, just waiting to be unleashed. And as you embrace this transformation, you start to see the world around you differently. You see opportunities where you once saw obstacles. You see solutions where you once saw problems. Your mind becomes clearer, your heart becomes lighter, and your vision becomes sharper. You begin to see the future you want with such clarity that it almost feels inevitable. You no longer wonder if it's possible. You know it is. You begin to step into that vision, confident that it's not only achievable, but it's already in motion. One of the most powerful realizations you'll make is that your past doesn't define your worth. Your value is not tied to what you've done or haven't done. It's not tied to what's happened to you or what you've lost. Your value is inherent in who you are, your potential, your gifts, your purpose. Once you internalize this, you stop seeking validation from others. You stop measuring your worth by their opinions. You stop allowing people's judgments, assumptions, or criticisms to control how you feel about yourself. You understand that the only validation you need is your own, and that internal validation becomes the foundation for everything you do. It gives you the strength to keep going when things get hard, the courage to step out of your comfort zone, and the belief that you are worthy of all the success and happiness that's coming your way. This mindset shift also helps you to stop comparing your journey to others. You realize that their path is not your path. Their timing is not your timing. Their victories are not your victories. And just because their success looks different doesn't mean you're not progressing. You begin to trust your own process, knowing that what's meant for you will come at its own time. You don't rush, you don't force. You just keep moving forward with faith, patience, and perseverance, knowing that every step is bringing you closer to your goal. You also begin to trust yourself more. You trust your decisions, your intuition, and your abilities. You stop second-guessing yourself and start owning your choices. You trust that you have everything you need inside of you to succeed, and even when doubt creeps in, you remind yourself that doubt is just a part of the journey. It doesn't have to stop you. You keep moving, trusting that every step, no matter how small, is leading you to where you need to be. And as you keep taking those steps, you start to see the progress. You start to see the changes. And with every milestone, no matter how small, you're reminded that you are capable, you are worthy, and you are moving toward your destiny. There comes a point in life when you realize that the most important investment you can make is the investment in yourself. The external world, with all its distractions, opinions, and expectations, will always try to pull you in countless directions. But it's only when you choose to prioritize your growth, your well-being, and your future that you start to see real change. Investing in yourself isn't just about acquiring skills or knowledge. It's about nurturing your mind, body, and soul. It's about creating a foundation that will allow you to handle whatever life throws your way with confidence and resilience. When you invest in yourself, you're not only improving your life in the present, but you're also laying the groundwork for a future filled with possibility. The first step in this process is understanding that you are worth the investment. Society often conditions us to look for validation outside of ourselves, to seek approval from others, to rely on external circumstances to determine our worth. But the truth is, you are already enough. You don't need anyone's permission to take care of yourself, to focus on your goals, or to pursue your dreams. Investing in yourself is not about vanity or selfishness. It's about acknowledging your value and recognizing that you have everything within you to create the life you want. When you begin to see yourself as the greatest asset you have, everything starts to shift. You stop waiting for permission or for someone to tell you what you're capable of. Instead, you begin taking action on your own terms, trusting that your potential is limitless. One of the most significant aspects of investing in yourself is taking responsibility for your growth. This means understanding that your future is not dependent on external factors or circumstances. It's dependent on your actions, your choices, and your mindset. You have the power to change your life at any moment. Whether it's developing new habits, learning new skills, or breaking old patterns, the decision to grow is yours. No one else can do it for you. The moment you take ownership of your own development is the moment you unlock the power to shape your own destiny. Investing in yourself also means making time for the things that nourish you. In today's fast-pacing world, it's easy to get caught up in the hustle and bustle, constantly chasing after the next goal or the next achievement. But true success isn't just about what you accomplish, it's about how you feel along the way. Are you taking care of your health? Are you making time for rest and relaxation? Are you nurturing your relationships? Are you making space for activities that bring you joy? These questions are essential because your well-being is the foundation of everything else. When you take care of yourself, you're better equipped to handle challenges, take on new opportunities, and support those around you. Another important aspect of investing in yourself is embracing continuous learning. The world is constantly changing, and so are you. In order to stay relevant and grow, you must be willing to learn and adapt. This means being open to new ideas, seeking out knowledge, and pushing yourself beyond your comfort zone. Whether it's reading books, attending workshops, learning new technologies, or simply engaging in thought-provoking conversations, every opportunity to learn is an opportunity to grow. Investing in your education, whether formal or informal, is one of the best ways to stay ahead of the curve and ensure that you continue to evolve. Self-investment also involves setting clear goals and creating a plan to achieve them. Without direction, you can easily get lost in the noise of life, but when you have a vision for where you want to go, you can focus your energy and attention on what truly matters. Setting goals helps you measure your progress, stay motivated, and maintain a sense of purpose. However, it's not enough to just set goals. You must also be willing to put in the work. Goals without action are simply dreams. Success comes when you commit to doing the necessary work day after day, no matter how small the steps may seem. In addition to personal growth, investing in yourself means surrounding yourself with people who lift you up and support your journey. The people you choose to spend your time with have a huge impact on your mindset and your success. If you surround yourself with negative, toxic individuals who don't believe in your vision, it will be much harder to stay focused and motivated. But if you surround yourself with people who challenge you, inspire you, and encourage you to become the best version of yourself, your potential will expand exponentially. These are the people who will hold you accountable, celebrate your victories, and help you overcome obstacles. Investing in yourself is also about developing emotional intelligence. Your emotions are powerful drivers of your decisions, actions, and relationships. The ability to manage your emotions, stay calm under pressure, and respond thoughtfully instead of reacting impulsively is a skill that will serve you in every area of your life.